Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Ray Esports Club Racing League. This is round number 7 for group number 2, coming to you tonight from Road America. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell, and in the virtual production hauler, we have Guido Marzucchi. For one final time this season, we have 70 minutes of GT4 action from the Ray Esports Club Racing League. And to end this part of the season, we head to the National Park of Speed. Road America is an absolute classic in the world of motorsports, and it's also just a gem in iRacing. Just about any car that you put around here can put on some fantastic racing, even the IRO1. This track is just conducive to putting on great racing. It got heavy braking zones, good overtaking opportunities, but it's also a track that can be rather unforgiving for these racers as well. Road America has just about anything that an iRacer could want out of racetracks. Charles, I think there's no better racetrack that we could have to bring this GT4 season to a close.
Absolutely not, Ron. It's a fantastic track. I actually have a race victory at this track in the IRO1. 6 cars started the race. I was the last one to die, so I get the dub. So, so my only victory with the IRO1. But this is a fantastic track. Very fast. Lots of drafting going to be on the menu for tonight. And then, we'll have to watch out for our suspect corners, as we're seeing Michelle Squire. They're coming out of 5 into 6. This is one of those suspect sections. You got to be very careful on the brakes there as you're climbing that hill, and then through 7 and then down into 8 for a pretty good passing opportunity there into 8 before it takes you on the back half of the circuit. So really looking forward to the race tonight.
It is going to be a good one to bring this Group 2 season to a close. We saw the season finale for Group 1 1 week ago here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We would like to congratulate Michelle Squire for taking the championship in the MX-5 Cup cars. I'll have to go through my notes and get the other champion squared away. Matt Thompson, I believe, was one of them. I can't remember whether or not. I believe it was in the MX-5 Cup cars. The Spec Miatas, I should say. So he was pretty fast all throughout that season. And Joshua Justice, as much as he may not be the champion in Group 1, I don't believe he's in championship contention here for Group number 2. He's always nice to keep tabs on here in the Ray Esports / Weekend Warriors world. A real-life Spec Racer 4 driver in the number 99 car, heading his way through the carousel right now. Still in the midst of this qualifying session, about 6 minutes and some change left to go in it, and still enough time for these drivers to get 1 or 2 more lap times on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still a little bit of time left. It's about a 2-minute and 15-second lap or so. So yeah, they got a chance to get maybe up to 3. I think this is a closed session, so solo qualifying. So note the clock will stop at 15 minutes. So probably 2 more laps for most of these cars out there, and we'll set the grid. And we'll have us a really, really good race tonight as we're seeing Squirick now coming out of turn 3. Obviously, we've talked about this as we've done broadcasts over the course of time, how the numbers don't quite match up with the corners here because of motorcycles and such. So turn 3 is actually more like turn 2 as we come down here into 5, which is actually more like turn 3. So we'll keep it with the actual numbers that iRacing uses, and that is turn 5. So yeah, it's going to be one of those fun races. I think we're going to have a good battle. I'm seeing some really, really competitive lap times on the board. So it might be a pretty good tussle up near the front.
Yeah, it is going to be a good one at the north end of this field. I just want to say, talking about the championship point situation heading into the final race of the season, Michelle Squire is holding on to the championship points lead at the present moment, 137 points on the board. That is not including any sort of drop rounds that may twist that up a little bit. She has 3 wins, I believe, already this season, so a very fast racer to be sure. Won at Circuit of the Americas, Watkins Glen, and Road Atlanta earlier on, but has not finished too well as of recent. The race at Barber about a month and some change ago, back on February the 19th. Holy cow, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
That right there was her worst finish of the season. Only scored 8 points during that round, but still finds herself with a 17-point gap between herself and Will Pierre. So that's how it looks at the moment in the championship battle here in group number 2. Ian Anderson, Miles Crabb also covered by about 5 points, and and only going back 3 from there, you find Matt Thompson. Only going back for 1 from there, you have Kyle Robertson. Going back another 2 from there, you have Chuck Labano. So some rather close championship battles coming right down to the right down to the wire at the end of this season. One thing about this Ray Esports Club Racing League, despite the fact this season started all the way back in, I think it was the day before Halloween on October 30th was when we got this season underway. We've only had 7 races for each of the groups. We've had now 7 complete rounds for Group 1. Gonna have the 7th here for Group 2 tonight, and then gonna have the 7th and final race of this Ray Esports Club Racing League season and wrap up the action from Group number 3 in 1 week's time here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But in all that, we've had consistent cast of characters and some very fast drivers up and down the grid as well. Looking through some newcomers for the final race of this season in the form of Matthew Guzenda in the number 6 car, currently qualified in 9th, and looking through Mike Nickham and the number 9 machine, currently slotted in 17th. Nice to see some newcomers come into the season, even though it's in the final race.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because, you'll get one good race in, and it's like, hey, I might want to keep doing this. And, it's people like that. They come in here and they run a race, and they have some good racing action on the track. Everybody in these, we talk about it all the time. Everybody in the Ray Esports League is, a lot of real life racers. So they know how to take care of their equipment. They're not out there being dangerous. They race cleanly, even in the sim. So it's always really good racing, and that's as we get these new guys in, it just adds to that, and hopefully they'll be back for next season, and they'll pick up more of the other cars, and it'll just make this league grow a little bit more.
And want to touch back on a point that I raised earlier on in the show. It was your current 3rd place qualifier here in the GT4s of Jake Snedden, who walked away with the TCR championship in group number 1 week ago. As we follow Tyler Heron. Man, my tongue got wrapped around my teeth about 16 times there. Tyler Heron currently qualified in 15th in the number 11 machine, about 2.5 seconds off of your current provisional pole sitter of Michelle Squire. Lincoln Fox set to join her on the front row as it stands at the present moment. Jake Snedden not terribly far off in 3rd. Miles Crabb, who has been always the bridesmaid, never the bride throughout a vast majority of this Ray Esports Club Racing League season. The only race that he's been able to win thus far in the 19 we've had up to this point was actually the opener here for the GT4s at Sebring. He was able to walk away with a victory at the end of the opening race. So who knows? Maybe he's going to start and end these GT4 races with a trip to Victory Lane.
Yeah, you never can tell. He's been, obviously the first win he got was before I jumped in and started helping with the broadcast. Of course, I know Miles quite well from previous seasons. So, yeah, it'd be nice to see him finally break through and get to the top step one more time as we're on board here with Josh Soto. And once again, I think I talked about this last week, but congrats to Josh winning a USA Talent Scout competition. Oh, as he's off there, managed to keep it out of the barrier. Obviously, did much better job at Sebring in that 90-minute race than he did navigating that corner. But we've seen Josh enough that he's very, very fast in the sim. Actually does, I think, some real life racing as well. So it'll be nice to see how he can progress. He's usually one of those guys that kind of runs from the back to the front. So we'll see if it's going to be him starting up near up in the top 5, and see if that's going to be give him the key to hit victory tonight.
Yeah, get those keys to Victory Lane. The fence guarding Victory Lane always has that lock on it. It's important to either know where that key is and know where to find it, or just be a very good locksmith to try and bypass it. But nevertheless, with that qualifying session and that terrible analogy notwithstanding, let's take a look at the starting grid for the final GT4 race of this season. That's going to be Michelle Squire in the number 75 Formidable Racing Development car, starting from the pole, setting a 2-man 13.945 to try and grab that pole. Lincoln Fox set to join her on the front row in the number 48 machine. Jake Snedden will start in 3rd next to Joshua Soto in 4th. We have Miles Crabb in 5th. Will Pierre in 6th. Edgar Sancinelli will start this race in 7th next to Ian Anderson in P8. Starting in 9th is going to be Ryan Campbell, and riding after top 10 is going to be Matt Guenza.
Yep, starting in 11th, we've got Chuck Labano. Matt Thompson starts in 12th. Nolan Bromer starts in 13th, Randy Marino in 14th, Tyler Heron in 15th, Josh Justice starting in 16th in that blue number 99, Corey Heffron in 17th, Mike Nickum starting in 18th, Kerry Anderson in 19th, and Tom Wentz starts in P20. In 21st, Mike Key, Joaquin Effinger in 22nd, Wayne Buttermore in 23rd, Ken Estep in 24th, and Aaron Bray rounds out your 25-car grid for tonight.
And we were able to get through all of them before they started off on this formation lap, which based on the fact this track is about 4 miles long. According to iRacing, literally 4.00 miles long. We are going to have a little bit of a wait between now and the start of this race as we take a look from the slow motion broadcasting blimp, which is a lot higher, as you can see, than the iRacing blimp that you see in the camera shot right there. We've got special dispensation from the FAA to try and fly a little bit higher.
We're too close for missiles. Switch to guns.
Yeah, there we go. One of the strangest things that I realized shockingly too late in my life is just how close I live to the site of the Hindenburg crash. Because that's in like the middle of New Jersey, which, as someone in Philadelphia and a little bit north of Center City, I can assure you that it's not a terribly far away drive from me to get to the other side of the Hindenburg disaster, which I will say, and this is honest, we were kind of having a chat before this broadcast. This show, doing a quick math in my head, is my 78th of this year here for 2025. I would say I've probably broken past the 300 barrier at this point in terms of my time doing iRacing broadcasts, and God knows how many hours I've been on the air. But that right there was a very momentous occasion. That, I think, is the first time in the history of me doing iRacing broadcasts in which I have raised a discussion talking about the Hindenburg disaster.
I think so, and that's one step up from Martin Van Buren, what we're talking about before the broadcast started.
If you can't tell from what you've heard thus far in this broadcast, we like to have a good time here. So that's
hey, while we've got a minute, I have to shout out Father Guido, Guido Marzucchi, who does our production here. He's been upgrading our SMB graphics, and they look absolutely fantastic. And I just want to give him the props for it. It's they look really, really clean, and I'm really impressed with it.
Yeah, they are looking super sharp at the moment. Well done, Guido. We also got the race control formation lap thing, and you also got the pit graphic down at the bottom of the screen to let you know that not taking to the start of this formation lap is Aaron Bray. I am not entirely sure if he is in the iRacing session period. Now, he has connected. He's just not in it. So that's not entirely sure what's going on there, but nevertheless, if he does start this race from the pits, has a lot of time to try and make it up. 70 minutes of racing action coming up, and we're not expecting this to be a totally smooth affair for these drivers.
Once we get the tires warmed up, I think it'll be a pretty decent race. There's plenty of racing room here at Road America. Obviously, we talked about a couple of trouble spots. 5, 6, 7, 8 will get you. You got to be very careful through there with your racing lines and your battles and your braking. Then the other spot is the kink. I did notice Michelle Squirek, as we were watching her qualifying, she is having a lift going into the kink, which we just came through there, which is on that back stretch coming down to Canada Corner. So that'll be something we'll have to watch out for. The cars will have a tendency to get loose once you do a little lift through there. If you try and carry too much speed, you'll run off the track and then you'll be in the wall. And, probably better than half the time you come off the wall back into the track and you end up taking 2 or 3 other people out with you. So that's pretty much the real trouble spots here. Obviously, you're going to have some places offline that you'll have to worry about. But, if you're sticking to your racing line, it should be a pretty clean race.
And we're certainly expecting a good one to bring this Group 2 season to a conclusion here on Slow Motion Broadcasting for the Right Esports Club Racing League. That pace car making the turn to come down pit lane. The field now in the hands of our pole sitter of Michelle Squire, waiting for that green flag to go out in the air for these drivers to be on their way down into turn number 1. It is a long run here in the GT4, so it's important to get a good start, which Michelle Squire certainly did. Let's see if she's going to be able to hold on to this race lead comfortably. Heading down into turn at number 1, side by side. Look at that. That right there is the number 48 machine of Lincoln Fox, the driver of the Mercedes, looking to hold his own around the outside. He's got Jake Sneddon in that number 18 McLaren on the inside of him, heading down into turn at number 3. Speaking of, it's a lot of side by side, nearly 3 wide action. That small little flat out blast between turn 1 and turn 3. Yes, there is a marked corner between those, in the same way that there's technically 2 marked corners between turn 3 that we saw a couple of moments ago, heading down into the braking zone of turn number 5. At the front of the field is Michelle Squire leading this race. Lincoln Fox slotted into P2, and Jake Sneddon riding at your podium as it stands at the present moment. Josh Soto in that 07 car, going to be keeping tabs on him, but it looks like the field negotiated the first 5 corners of this race cleanly.
Yeah, absolutely. Good start. I did see Aaron Bray. He did come out of the pits at the start of the race. He's going to be 10 or so seconds behind the rest of the field as he had to wait on the pace car to come down pit road. So he's going to come out a little bit behind, but he's coming out and he's going to race. And he's got plenty of time to make up some spots. There'll be things that will happen during the course of the race. And if he's got some good pace in that BMW, then he'll be able to make up some time. So plenty of time to do some stuff, do some work.
Yeah, plenty of time left to go in this
Whoa,
race
there it
for
is.
these drivers as that's going off the track in a horrific fashion. That's Lincoln Fox. Jake Sneddon again caught up in that incident as well. That may have been one of the most violent impacts I've seen in my entire time doing iRacing broadcasting. And it's not over yet. Squire spinning. That's coming at Canada corner from the race lead in comfortable fashion. Michelle Squire spinning at the end of the first lap, and all of that drama with the front 3 going off in the span of about 25 seconds, even less than that, in fact. It's now Will Pierre at the front of this field. Josh Soto slipping into second. Miles Crabb, who won the opening race of the season at Sebring, running in third. Side-by-side racing at the front of the field between Will Pierre and Josh Soto. Looked like Soto's going to try and take the lead of this race, but what in the hell happened there?
Oh, that's the kink on the first lap. Obviously, everybody trying to get their tires warmed up and their brakes warmed up, and he just carried too much speed, got off on the outside curb, probably clipped the grass with the left rear tire and sent him across the track. And like I said, if you go across the track, you hit that barrier more often than not, you're going to come right back into the track surface, and that's exactly what happened. Ends up hitting Sneddon as well. So we got trouble behind over there in turn 3.
That's the newcomer, Matt Guzenda, in the number 6 car. He's gone off the circuit. I believe he was joined in that off-track collision by Matt Thompson and the 33 machine. Looks like those cars have either rejoined the race or attempted to, but nevertheless, in the midst of all of that, we're going to load up some replays to see that horrific collision for Lincoln Fox. He got a wiggle on, coming out of the kick, hit the wall. Jake Sneddon, unfortunate for him, at number 18 McLaren, absolutely nothing he could do, and a little bit of netcode involved in that as well. Holy cow, and it didn't even end there as those 2 cars speared off the track in cataclysmic fashion. Here was a cataclysmic mistake for Michelle Squire. Heading off through Canada corner, got a little bit sideways heading through, and absolutely nothing she could have done in the number 75 machine. The front 3 all either crashing out or spinning out in the span of about 15 seconds. Pure madness.
That is absolutely crazy. And yeah, as far as, Fox was concerned, he could have put both feet on his brake pedal. There was absolutely nothing he could have done. He caught the wiggle and just basically overcorrected the car, couldn't catch up with the steering, and came across the track. As we're on board here with Randy Marino, we're going to see this action as we're coming up into the penultimate corner. And we see the pass made by Josh Soto there. It's like him taking the lead over Pierre, and we get a little bit of the action from behind. And of course, my iRacing replay is going to glitch. So I'm not going to be able to see what's going on. I'm assuming, though, this is Thompson coming down into the final corner. Didn't quite make the final corner, or is he already? Looks like he's already got damage. So
that was actually the replay of the incident involving Thompson heading down into turn number 3, and I'm going to say, being completely honest here, folks, I was doing a little bit of numbers crunching as we took a look at that replay to try and figure out if there's a chance that Will Pierre may be able to win the championship in all of this, because Pierre entered this race P2 in the points, 17 behind Michelle Squirick, as there you can see, contact between Thompson and Joaquin Effinger. That's heading down into turn number 5. Unfortunately for Effinger and Thompson, nothing Effinger could have done, something that Thompson could have done, mainly dropping an anchor through asphalt to be able to get turned up, heading down into turn 5. But
that was a very aggressive lunge. Yeah, it was a very aggressive lunge by Thompson. As you can see, turn 5 already just littered with gravel all over the track. That's going to make that corner even worse as these cars navigate through it. So we see on board here with Squirick running P12, right behind Corey Heffron. She's going to do everything that she could do to make up spots over the course of this 64 minutes left in this race. So she's got plenty of time. Obviously, she's got good pace. She started up front, so we'll see how many positions she can gain back before this race is over with.
Still a lot of time left to go for these drivers, but for Michelle Squirick, it is not the start that she had in mind. Not the start that really any of these racers had in mind.
No.
Let's take a look at a moment involving Ken Eastep. There we go, heading down into turn number 3. That was contact with himself and not Joaquin Effinger. That was Wayne Buttermore in front of him that came to blows heading off through turn number 3. An ugly incident. Lots of ugly incidents at the start of this race as a side-by-side fight flaring up involving Will Pierre and Ian Anderson.
Yep. Looks like Anderson had a good run out of Canada. Has made up that gap. You got a nice 4-car draft there. There's going to be at least an attempt for a pass, I think, somewhere in this group going down into turn 1. Excuse me. As they're working their way down the front straight. And you see Anderson has still behind Pierre there and still nose to tail with those 4 cars. Lobano and Campbell just behind them as they work down into turn 3. Still nose to tail. And let's see who gets to run out of that corner. This sets you up for this long drag strip down toward turn 5. You get good draft, and if you get a good run out of that corner, you can potentially make a pass down on the inside of turn 5, because we're back up front with Josh Soto, being trailed by Miles Crabb, and Miles Crabb down to about a 1.3 second gap. So he is looks like he may have lost a little bit of time coming through 5, as well as Soto climbs through 6 and into 7, and still stretching that gap out. It's up to 1.8.
Yeah, still very early on into this race, and I want to say thank you very much to Casey Fox in the YouTube chat, who's watching this stream instead of being out there on the racetrack, mainly because to her own self-reporting, said that she's not very much a fan of this racetrack and tends to get struck by falling anvils more often than not. I was going to raise it. There may potentially be a possibility of there being a swaparoo at the championship lead here in Group 2 between Michelle Squirick and Will Pierre. According to Casey in the YouTube chat, there is
Casey Knight.
Casey Knight in the other YouTube chat. She is saying that she needs to gain 2 points. This being Michelle Squirick, that has to gain 2 points to be able to grab the championship here. So it's looking good still for Michelle Squirick, and doubly so considering Will Pierre finds himself in 3rd, now about 3 seconds off the lead from Josh Soto. Soto, I believe, I'm going to have to look through my notes, but I believe he already has a win thus far this season. I mean, he's been incredibly quick all through. Actually, no, here in the GT4s, he's yet to grab a win thus far this season, but based off the pace he's shown thus far, he may be able to grab the last one this season.
It may be, but I look at that Miles Crabb setting the fastest lap of the race so far, 2:15.5. As we're seeing Squirick here, still focused on her running in P10. Oh, the car off, and that is Mike Key in the 998 Mercedes. Let's see, is this the Coming through here, coming out of the final little bend into the last corner. Is this going to be curbs getting him? Oh, yeah. I think maybe less curbs and just maybe a little too much turn in, a little too hard on the throttle trying to get out of that corner. And does not drive it straight into the wall. So it does manage to get back up and get straightened back out. He's still running in P21. So he's not last, as we see a couple cars already in the pits. I think that's Thompson and Estep. And that is their, I know Thompson had damage. Maybe Estep did as well.
Yeah, it's been an ugly start here as Mike Key nearly spun it on re-entry after that moment. So clearly the grass, along with the tires on these GT4 race cars, that is not a match made in heaven, as we take a look to see a moment involving Tyler Heron in the number 11 car. This is heading down into turn number 5. Is this out braking? Yes, it is out braking. A dive, a shot, and bang into the side of Casey Knight. Not a Casey Knight, that was Michelle Squire. And unfortunately, that right there was Josh Justice picking up a piece of that drama as well.
Yeah, unfortunate. Josh was having a good run going. He's up 7 positions, as well as Corey Heffron. There's several cars that are up 7 spots. And yeah, that was just, I think he was going to make the corner, but I think that there's a car on the outside. Not sure that Michelle saw him there on the inside as they were navigating that turn. So, you know, I don't think there was any fault to be laid there. I think it's just running out of racing room for a couple of those cars, and Michelle has worked her way up to P8.
Yeah, so still on the up and up in that number 75 car after that gut-wrenching spin, heading off through Canada corner as nearly losing and coming at turn 14, dipping some wheels off into the dirt as that's Josh Justice coming down pit lane, very likely to repair the damage on that race car inflicted on it as a result of that turn 5 incident. You can see that front bumper crumpled in quite badly, and we'll note that in all of that, Tyler Heron actually has a meatball flag at the present moment, so that's not going to help out his cause one bit as we continue on with live action and follow Edgar Sancinelli. I feel like this race is being one a bit more of attrition than we were probably expecting heading into it.
Yeah, a little bit. I think Justice is going to come back out. Heron and Gazinda, I think, were going to come back out as well. So I think it's a little bit crazier start than I was expecting. I thought it would have been a little more sedate with a 70-minute race on board. But you know, so far, the drama at the lead pack on that first lap was was really unexpected, but it happens sometimes, and it's just one of those unfortunate things.
Yeah, a little bit of early race drama should be expected. My mind is still hung up on that massive collision between Lincoln Fox and Jake Sned. Lincoln Fox, credit where credit's due, he is still in this race in the number 48 car. I mean, granted, with that impact, if that wasn't real life, A, he would have ended up in the hospital, and B, that car would basically be turned into scrap metal upon a collision like that. But thankfully, because it's iRacing, he was able to pick up a faster pair. The iRacing mechanics clearly being very good about taking their dosage of Red Bull, repairing that car in time, still finds himself well farther towards the back after having to tow to pit lane. Jake Snedden completely out of it. He decided to call it a night right after that collision. But credit where credit's due to Lincoln Fox, not giving up hope in the number 48 machine.
Yeah, obviously Lincoln, qualified up near the front because that's where he was when the incident happened. I think what's going to hurt him is he's got to come back in and make another stop, unfortunately, and so he's going to make up some positions, and he'll end up probably with, he might could squeeze a top 10 as we see Key there into the wall, coming out of 5. Little bump on the left front, and he's going to get back off and underway. As the gap, I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if Josh Soto up front is maybe kind of watching his rear view mirror a little bit and kind of measuring his gap, trying to just not overdrive the car. I don't think that at this point there's any sense to go out and create a 10-second gap between you and P2, and then potentially burn your tires up. So I think Josh is being very controlled up front.
And I gotta say, I am liking this drive at the moment from Josh Soto. The driver of the 07 car, I mean, we've seen it all throughout the season. And even outside of it, from some of our experience covering Josh Soto and some other series outside of this, whether it be in the Weekend Warriors, or I remember one time doing a broadcast of a MX5 race at Indianapolis Raceway Park running on the oval. He is very fast as a driver in the 07 car. But, and I say this with legitimately all the respect that can be given to the driver of the 07 car, he tends to be a little bit trigger happy, so to speak. He has an affinity for being very fast, but kind of following the story of Icarus, where he flies too close to the sun. He's very quick, but he also tends to get involved in some incidents that aren't very necessary, where he's putting a good drive, and a small low incident takes place, and it completely ruins what could have been a great day for him. So I'm liking what I'm seeing right now. It's a calm, cool, and collected drive from Josh Soto. Still finds himself leading this race by 1 1/4 seconds between himself and Miles Crab. Crab's certainly going to be itching for a victory, because outside that Group 2 win at Sebring to get this season underway, he's yet to grab one in the other 2 groups that we have and the rest of this Group 2 season. So I'm sure for Miles Crab, he's looking to grab a win, but as long as Josh Soto can keep it on the road, I think he's going to be very tough to be in the 07 machine.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that I'm sure Miles is looking at his relative saying, "I'm running P2 again." And he's thinking, I don't want to finish P2 again. So that's the one thing. If Josh, if he is being controlled up front, he has got a guy behind him who is very hungry to get another win in that Bucky's Aston Martin. So he's going to be very careful that he doesn't slip back too far, because if Miles gets in the draft and can attach to the rear of that car, he's going to try to find a place to get around. I can promise you.
Yeah, and just touching on this yet again, I apologize to Casey9 in the YouTube chat for giving her a bit of anxiety, using her as a bit of a metric. I will say, and this is completely honest based off the fact I kind of derailed the own storyline that I was going to add in as quite a lot of tension, with a 17-point gap and 32 points being the max with bonuses and 30 being the max without them. It was probably going to be rather unlikely for Will Pierre to win the championship unless we saw Michelle Squire get struck by a true falling anvil and be completely out of this race all the way down to 24th. So I was going to build up that storyline, but I canned it right away, because I think as much as you can't necessarily rule it out, I mean, it's racing. Anything could happen between now and
That's true.
Like,
yeah.
we could have the speed fill bridge just collapse on us. We could have, I don't know, I'm trying to think together. The ghost of Greg Moore haunts the gravel trap of Canada Corner, as that's Lincoln Fox having a moment, heading off through the top end of the circuit, through 13 into 14. Held from Lincoln Fox in that 48 machine. Doesn't have clean pants, but does have a clean race car.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a bit of a wild ride as he came out of that corner and over the crest of the hill to complete the lap. And yeah, but well held, great bit of skill there to hold on to that car. You could just kind of see the tail just wanting to let go as he gets over in the grass there, and manages to kind of drift it around this final corner, gets it back onto the concrete, and continues on. And that's really is things like that Michelle has to worry about, is the incidents not of her own making that could end up potentially taking her out. Obviously, Boshell, we've seen a very, very fast driver, great handling of a car, and it doesn't matter which one. So, Michelle was going to give it her all to move up to the front, and it's just a matter of hopefully she doesn't get hit by a spinning Mercedes more than a falling anvil.
I'm trying to think of if there could be a parody version of "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? Oh Lord, won't you make sure I avoid a spinning Mercedes-Benz?" It does have the same ring to it, so I'm gonna ban it off on doing any sort of singing. Plus, I do not want anyone's ears to bleed tuning into this broadcast. 19 minutes now into this 70-minute-long race. Joshua Soto still finds himself in the lead at the present moment in the 07 machine. Miles Crab and Will Pierre running at your podium spots as it stands at the present moment. We're following Ian Anderson, who's in 4th. Tyler Aarons had a pretty rough go of things at the present moment in the number 11 car, finds himself in 21st. So a couple of incidents to get there, and did have a meatball flag not terribly long ago, so that's not looking very good for him. Here's 7 spots up to find Wayne Buttermore in the number 73 machine, currently running in P14. And continuing on with the 7s, we can jump up to Randy Marino in the number 16 machine, who finds himself there. And in the 700 car, it's Joaquin Effinger running right behind Wayne Buttermore here as well. Lots of 7s in this race here today at an absolute gem of a racetrack. A lot of the people you see in this series are either past or present SCCA racers, so rather fitting that we're bringing this season to a close here at Road America, the home of the SCCA National Championship runoffs last year. Gonna be the home again this year and in 2026 as well, which I remember that announcement kind of sparking a bit of controversy, but I don't know. Maybe my opinion's just a little bit off, but I think Road America is a fine track to host the runoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Road America is a great track. I mean, it is, technically it's a national park. So I mean, it is I think the only national park that has a racetrack in it, especially one of this size and stature that runs a lot of the professional racing series in the state. So SCCA, good job on them to come here and run their nationals. And yeah, to go back to Tyler Heron, he is down in 23rd, but he pitted at lap 5. So that's kind of on the edge, I think. That's about 11 minutes into the race. So that's kind of on the edge of being able to get to the end of the race with the fuel that he has on board. So maybe that he can pick up some spots just naturally as cars come in and pit and take on fuel. So we'll keep an eye on him and see if that'll help that Sim Motion Aston Martin move up toward the front.
As we continue to look at some of the other drivers in this field, here's a fight that may flare up in the not-too-distant future between Will Pierre and Ian Anderson. This will be for the final podium spot, as Nolan Bromer has made the call to come down pit lane in the number 21 car. And there he is at the moment, exiting the pits in that very striking number 21 Porsche. Currently finds himself in 16th at the moment, just coming out of the pits heading through turn 1.
Yep, that's a nice early pit stop. So he's going to get out back into the track, and I think he has some cars behind him. It'll see what happens as far as him holding on to that position, or if those cars may swamp him a little bit as he gets back on his out lap and gets the tires back up to the proper temperature.
And I was holding off on saying anything more just because I wanted to double check to see whether or not my paint schemes were up to date or not. But Nolan Bromer, who we called all throughout season, well, throughout the Group 1 season, used to run the other Taco Bell car. So sadly, that has not made its appearance here in Group 2. And the main reason I like that is because I could always make the pun of the Taco Bell car getting its bell rung if he was ever involved in some sort of incident. I'm not sure if I ever took advantage of that pun throughout the season, which frankly, from my personal opinion as a broadcaster, I consider that to be a missed opportunity for me. We just saw that was Will Pierre dealing with the lap traffic. I believe that's Ken Estep and the number 66 car. They both dealt with it in the reference of Will Pierre and Ian Anderson hang down that start-finish straightaway off into turn number 1. And every single time we see an exit of this corner, Charles, I think of a point that you raised in reference to the exit of turn 5 earlier on. Considering the new reworked off-track physics that iRacing brought in a few seasons ago, we're probably going to have some corners that are rather graveled up on the exit by the end of this race.
Yeah, so a few seasons ago they worked on the grass, actually, as we see on board here with Soto, a little wide on the exit of that final corner, takes a little run through the grass, and is able to control the car and get it back on track, which is one of the changes they made a few seasons ago. Used to be that once you went off to the green ice, that was pretty much the end of your race. But that's better now. But now they've introduced some debris physics. So now you're getting some cars bringing gravel and dirt back onto the track. It makes those surfaces a little bit slippier, and you will get a little with a little red and yellow striped warning flag saying, "Hey, you might want to be careful going through this corner." So it's iRacing's consistent and constant upgrades that makes the racing that much better week in and week out.
And iRacing still on the up and up in terms of building up the simulation. You know, about a year ago at this point, I believe it was for season 2 of 2024, they brought in the rain system. They brought in those reworked off-track physics a couple of seasons ago. Now they're continuing to add in more cars, and a couple of days ago they announced the other Tykes mobiles being added into iRacing for the upcoming season build. That'll be absolutely fantastic. I think for April 1st of 2026, they are also planning on announcing the other Fred Flintstone mobile, but you didn't hear that from me. That's top secret information. That's a nice little fun fact for all of you. Whenever they put you on an iRacing show, they give you a nice little bit of top secret information that you should not, under any circumstances, share on a broadcast with a different broadcaster.
Especially if they announce it on April 1st.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. That's the ones that obviously iRacing does like to have a little bit of fun, and they've brought that out a few times. And yeah, the little Tykes was a nice touch. I'm waiting for the big wheel coming soon because that's more
Still
my
waiting
speed.
for the go-kart.
Yeah.
That'd be.
I mean, there are racing carts. I mean, I'm not think I'm going to be doing any racing in the big wheel, but it'd be fun as long as I didn't have to actually pedal.
Yeah, that would be it'd be interesting because iRacing has a bit of a strict regulation when it comes to what controllers you can and can't use. Bring in a bike and then make sure that people can hook it up with their like Pelotons or something like that. That would be an interesting. Like if I ever had a Peloton and I want to get some use out of it outside of riding a pretend bike around pretend roads on
or using it as a clothes rack.
Yeah, I could just one thing that I would always want to experience with a Peloton is because I guess you could pick anywhere really, just that's on like Google Map. Just drive around some like really bad areas of certain bad cities in this country. Just like, oh yeah, there right there is an abandoned Burger King that was burnt down back in like 2019. That would be an interesting experience. So anyways, we're following Michelle Squire, who's running in 8th at the present moment in the number 75 machine. Finds herself about 22.5 seconds off of your race leader of Josh Soto, who's continuing to pull that gap between himself and Miles Crab. Now 4.4 seconds between the two at the north end of the field.
Yeah, and she's making up time as you see her working her way around Ken Estep, putting him a lap. He's a lap down. So she's clearing, gave him the flash saying, hey, I'm coming by. She's almost caught up to Randy Marino running in P7, so she's doing a good job of making up the time. I think she's still losing time up toward the front of the field to the leaders as we are back on board here with Josh Soto, who has now stretched that gap out to 4.4 over Miles Crab as we see a car coming out of the pits. Could not catch that number. Mike Key is what we're seeing here on the battle box, as now Miles is going to get kind of hung up behind him for a corner as he gets his way through turn 3 here. He's going to be able to get the run, and he very, very smartly moves over, lets Miles get the run down the straightaway, and give him some clear track while still maintaining a little bit of pace just to make sure that he's not getting in the way, but he's not holding other people up or kind of screwing his race up, because he is still out there running and he has got some time to make up on some cars in front.
Yeah, Mike Key in the 998 car playing the sportsman role, heading down that straightaway through the Moraine sweep of turn number 4. And actually, I'm going to blow up my track map here and double check. It looked like the morale sweep there. It looked like the N was actually an L. So either my computer monitor is bad or my eyes are bad, but both of which can be very much so accurate. My Best Buy purchased monitor may be failing me, or my eyes, which genuinely my feet would work better than my eyes in terms of working as eyes. So both of those could be genuine possibilities, but rapidly approaching on the end of the first half of this race, coming up to 29 minutes now on the clock in this, I nearly said 49-minute long race. No, it's 70 minutes long, so 49 and 70. Not sure where I got 49 out of all of that, but nevertheless, still just getting this race through the motions. We're kind of in the midsection where these drivers are starting to think about their strategy a little bit, which, as we've seen throughout a decent chunk of this season, mainly at Barber, where I think some drivers actually got DQ'd because of some interesting and quite possibly illegal strategies. It's usually a huge factor, even though these races are the longest of the series.
Yeah, I think that's right. As we're here with the 70-minute race with these GT4s, which I think is fitting. These are the highest level of cars we've used this season, as far as, I guess, class strength overall. And yeah, it just is one of these now as we're getting into that mid part of the race. You're thinking, do I want to come in early if I'm in a battle? If there's some cars that are a lap down, it's only a couple at this point. I think it's actually only one at this point. I think it's just S-Step. But they'll be coming up on Key here very shortly. So as we see, I saw Joaquin Effinger, I think, in the background there, very wide through the kink. So yeah, it's a matter of, do I want to pit now and go ahead and get that over with and maybe get some clean track and see if I can run a little bit faster than the group I'm with, or do I want to run this thing until it's almost dry, wait till the last minute, get a very quick final pit stop toward the end of the race and take my chances there. So it's there's always a couple different strategies involved, and some people just say, you know what, I'm not even going to think about it. I'm just going to split it down the middle, and I'll come in about the 35-minute mark. I'll take my fuel. Probably nobody's taking tires, I don't think. I'll just take my fuel and I'll finish the other half of the race, which is completely viable as well.
I think the best way I can describe pit stops in a series like this is that's big sideways moment for Randy Marino coming out of turn number 8. That's going to allow Michelle Squire to maybe get a move done heading off through the carousel. You can see Marino running off into the marbles and the dirt on the outside line, trying to block off any sort of run from Squire, heading off through the carousel. Now Gubby nose to tail, heading down into the kink right now of turn number 11, through into Kettle Bottoms. This final flat out blast before you head off into Canada Corner, which may see Michelle Squire go for the move to slip her way up into 7th. Marino going to track midway through the racetrack, heading down into Canada Corner. Looks like Michelle Squire not going to go for the move in the number 75 car. But there's one way that I can describe this race. I'm going to hold off on it, as right as I was going to make a joke. Josh Soto has now come into the pits from the race lead in the 07 machine. That's a rather big call, and I gotta say, rather early. Usually you see these drivers decide to come into the pits about 45 to 50 minutes in. You can make it to the end at this point, considering we're not terribly far away from the halfway mark of it. There is a way to make it to the end of this race with a pit stop this early on, but still a little bit surprising from Soto.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it could have been that he just decided, I'm going to split my tank and take what I need to get to the halfway point. A little bit lighter car means a little bit faster car overall, which obviously he's shown with being out front. But on that end lap for Soto, Crab sets the fastest lap of the race with 214.7 as we're on board here with a battle with Effinger, Gazinda, and Buttermore in that BMW, very, very striking livery that BMW is. Ooh, a little contact made there with Effinger on his way through.
Speaking of very striking.
Yes, exactly. No pun intended. I wasn't even expecting to be honest. So yeah, it's not, nothing out of the ordinary for Soto pitting at the midway point of the race. Like I said, a lot of times you just can half your fuel that you're going to need for the race and make your car a little bit lighter at the start, and then you'll have to carry a little bit more at the end. You'll have to take a little bit more fuel on to finish the race. So it's a trade-off there, but Soto seems to have done it okay, and he came back out in P12. He's about a minute behind the race leader.
At this point in time, if you are Josh Soto, this is a time to kind of put your nose to the grindstone. You don't want to get caught up in all the menagerie of being a little bit farther in the back than you were at some point in the not too far off past. because it's something that can really mess with an iRacer. You're running comfortably at the front of the field, and that's like, oh, even though I've come into the pits, I'm running a little bit farther in the back. I need to make up for this. And then that's usually the time when a mistake is made. So for Josh Soto, what he needs to do in that '07 machine, keep his nose to the grindstone, look at the bigger picture in a race like this. We still haven't even hit the halfway mark. There's been a lot of moments up to this point. I think we're going to see one of them that just befell Mike Key a couple of moments ago. And that right there, folks, is a hardware failure, upside down, barrel rolling. And that right there is the unmistakable sound of a blowing up motor.
Yep. That was absolutely a hardware failure. Just no stopping, no turning, straight into the wall. Yeah, very bad way to end the race. But luckily, I think a lot of times with the hardware failure, you don't get the feedback from that wall crash. So probably saved his fingers, if nothing else, as we see Twarek has finally made her way around Marino to pick up P6. And just a note on Soto, he's got an 11-second gap up to Kerry Anderson running in 11th. So he's got pretty clean air. I think he's got Ken Estep is back there. He'll have to repass him. But for the most part, it's just clean track for Soto. So he came out in a really good position to just run some good solid laps.
Clean track and a smooth track is what Soto has found himself in at the present moment. Last time by set a 307.9, albeit that was the lap that he decided to come down pit lane. And we'll raise that, even though these are probably the fastest race cars that we have here in the Ray Esports Club Racing League, still setting 2-minute plus lap times here at Road America. This track is an absolute behemoth, but I gotta say, when this track was built many moons ago, those original track designers knew what they were doing when they designed this place. It's one of only a few tracks in the wide world of motorsports and the slightly more narrow world of top class motorsports, where it hasn't undergone any changes ever since the track opened.
Yeah, it has done some resurface. They've made some changes to some of the curbs, extended them a little bit, I think, because IndyCar kind of messed some things up there. With some of their track limit, exploration. So they came in and did a little bit of rework on some of the exit corners and curbing. And so, but yeah, the original configuration is still the same as it was, with some modifications to the surface and some of the cornering. But yeah, fantastic racetrack, fastest track, I think, in our country anyway, obviously because of its size. And it makes for some pretty good racing. Even multi-class racing here is pretty amazing to watch.
And I am actually going to provide a brief little clarification. Yes, the current version of this track that we have has been the same since 1955. Before then, though, between 1950 and 1952, there was a street circuit that was run in the actual town of Elkhart Lake with two layouts that ranged from 3.3 miles to 5.3 miles. But we're not going to be counting those. They're a different case than the other track that we run out. I just want to make that clear before someone very likely from Reddit came into the comments section and decided to call us all a bunch of non-wheel knowledge knowing scrubs.
Well, here's Soto had a really long stop. We're hearing from Guido. Yeah, it was quite a big stop, quite a long stop, but I think that was because of he just took on more fuel than most people would have. But we'll see. We'll see if there was I don't think that, looking at the time, and I don't think that there's anything that indicates maybe there was a penalty or anything like that, because the stop was still under 40 seconds. So there wouldn't have been that pit entry speeding penalty that we would see. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, though. He is making up a little bit of time on the lead group. His last lap was a 2:15.17, just off of Miles Crabbe by 0.02 of a second. So he's still got some good pace in the car, but not making up time at this point.
And I wonder how that's all going to shake out with that very long stop from Josh Soto. And credit where credit is due to him. The fact he has not made some sort of mistake ever since his pit stop, still finds himself in P12 at the moment. 58.5 seconds back of Miles Crabbe. And Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see how it's going to
Yeah.
shake out with Miles Crab, how long his stop's gonna be. Of course, Road America, one of the longest pit lanes in the world of motorsports. These drivers basically at terminal velocity hang down the start finish straightaway. Meanwhile, compared to their competitors down pit lane, they are going rather slowly. So that is going to be a bit of a difference to keep in mind. Boshell Squirek, who we will say is champion elect at the present
Hmm.
moment here with the GT4s, currently running in P6 as her main championship rival Will Pierre is slotted in second. That will not be enough to try and usurp her current stranglehold, for lack of a better term, on the other championship lead at the present moment. But the main eyes that I'm keeping on gonna be it's going to be Josh Soto and Miles Crab at the front of this field. Miles Crab's still in the race lead. I wonder if he is going to just completely ignore that pit stop from Soto, just decide to keep to his own plan that he had before the start of the race.
Yeah, I think that's what it looks like. I think he probably was checking to see where what lap time Soto may be running. But yeah, he's fully focused. He knows he's got a very fast car in Pierre and Anderson behind him, and so he's not going to take any chances with holding up. And that is kind of the difference about being in the lead. Is sometimes you kind of lift a little bit. You don't take as many chances, and you end up losing a little bit of time, as we see Effinger coming into the pits. And to your point, this is a very long pit entry or pit lane here at this track. The entry and the exits are not horribly difficult. They're pretty much straight lines, but it's the on pit entry is making sure that you don't lose a couple of seconds on entry. You got to make sure that you carry as much speed as you can up to the line, but not past the line. Otherwise, you will get that speeding penalty, and then you just have to watch for traffic on your way out to make sure you're not pulling out into a wad of other cars that are coming down that straightaway 2 or 3 wide, and potentially ruining everybody's race.
Yeah, the single worst thing that you can see upon exiting the pits is a massive pack of traffic. Actually,
Mhm.
you know what? I am going to amend that claim. It is the second worst thing that you can see coming out of the pits. I think the worst would probably be one of the wheels that was just put on your race car falling off. But outside of that, I would say being involved in a massive pack of race cars who are all battling each other and could not give a rat's ass about you joining in on that pack in the last second may
Mhm.
be one of the worst things that you can see in a situation like that. So these drivers looking to avoid that, not even touch a situation like that with a 10-foot pole, just avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. Like I said, it's one of those things you have to watch out for. And yeah, as long as you don't come out in the middle of a battle, then you're generally okay. We see Pierre just a little bit off. Saw some dirt fly up coming out of that corner, out of turn 5. Miles is starting to lose a little bit of time to Pierre. I'm looking, and he lost a tenth last lap, and looks like he's lost maybe a tenth or two on this lap as well. So I don't know if he's maybe trying to take it a little bit easier with his car, or if Pierre has maybe turned up the wick a bit.
Yeah, Will Pierre is a very fast driver here in the GT4s. He isn't a driver that we've seen go into victory lane too much throughout this season, but he's always been in contention for these Group 1 and Group 2 races. Won the race at Barber about 2 months ago, mind you, and that's been his only win thus far here in the GT4s. And just going through the small little chart that we have of winners here in Group 2, Boshell Squirek is the only multi-time winner here this season, grabbing 3 in a row at Circuit of the Americas, Watkins Glen, and Road Atlanta. That stretch of wins stretching from December the 4th, continuing into January the 8th, and finishing on January the 29th. So that was a rather good stretch if you were Boshell Squirek. But outside of that, Miles Crab had the 1 win at Sebring, looking to get his second of the season, and begin and end the season in victory lane, which it may not be the championship, but hey, he's been looking to return to victory lane this season, and I have a feeling that he will take whatever he can get, if I'm being honest. That sounded a little bit more sad than I meant for it to be. Will Pierre had the win at Barber back on February the 19th, and last time out at Mid-Ohio, I haven't talked about him because he's not actually in this race. Michael Odell, a standout star in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warrior Series that you can catch here on Slow Motion Broadcasting every single Wednesday. He was the winner of the latest round of the championship at Mid-Ohio back on March the 12th, as we see a wild off-track excursion for Randy Marino and sprinkling some gravel on the outside of Canada corner.
Yeah, he didn't even, he wasn't on the outside. He brought it all the way back across the track. So that'll make the next couple of cars come through
Slip
there and
and
make them
slide.
a little bit of tricky cornering there. But yeah, I just saw Marino just maybe a little bit light on the brakes or too late on the brakes, and just carried it off into the gravel, brought the gravel back on, and continued on. As we see a little spin there, and that was Ryan Campbell, I believe. Is that right, or was it Chuck Lobano? Chuck Lobano. We get a replay here as we're coming down into turn 5. Oh, I think he got he got into the inside curb and into the dirt, and just unsettled the car as he got back on throttle. Just looped it. It's a pretty common mistake as you see him backing up into the grass/gravel. It's all over the corner out there. So obviously he's lost that position. Dropped down to P6 as the Squire, I think, has also got around him. So as we see him working his way backing up, back across the track, and you can just see the gravel, and there's the Squire going through. So 2 positions lost for Lobano from that mistake out of the corner.
I was going to say a rather bizarre quote upon seeing that. I was going to say that's the Iowa 5-point turn. And some people may say, from Philadelphia, how would you know? I genuinely, some of the best driving standards I've ever seen in my entire time being a licensed driver, which terrifying to say that I got my driver's license back in May of 2022 at this point, and got my learner's permit back in the summer of 21. I've been on the road for a little while at this point, and maybe my experience was just a little bit different considering I'm from the city of Philadelphia, which I think has the worst driving standards in the country by far. Some of the best driving standards I've seen, though, came in the state of Iowa, because it takes an unbelievable level of talent to be going. Just picture this scene: going down I-80 down the middle of Iowa at about 85 miles an hour, and someone in a low-flung pickup truck on a dirt road along the side of the highway overtakes you, probably going about 95. That takes an incredible amount of skill, as speaking of an incredible level of skill, Josh Soto getting a move done on Kerry Anderson. Soto, after that pit stop, that is a move for position. But yeah, incredible driving standards that you see out there in the proud state of Iowa, a state that until I visited there for the first time in 2016, I thought was literally just a 2-lane road with cornfields on either side.
Probably is for the most part, but
Yeah.
what am I? What am I going to tell you? So
Actually, no, it's corn and soybean fields.
corn and soybean. Yeah, I was out doing an excursion of myself a few months ago, and was driving through Mississippi, and it was just cotton everywhere, and it's like, okay, so this is different, and so yeah, so I understand completely.
Yeah, man, I have a strange amount of association with the state of Iowa. My dad, who I believe is tuning into this broadcast downstairs, potentially that, or he's cleaning up after dinner, which is a whole nother story. Here's a good little lesson for you folks. If you have multiple broadcasts to do in a single day, maybe not the best idea to make stuffed pork chops, because you may find yourself in a situation where you have to go and bark instructions from your broadcast booth down to the kitchen so you can actually have dinner and eat it during a, albeit very boring, NASCAR race that I was on a broadcast with earlier on this evening. 150 laps around the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. That I felt like I was going to bash my head on the wall midway through that. I will not say what broadcasting company I was a part of that broadcast with, for the simple sake that I would like to keep my job at the end of it all. So we will swiftly and abruptly move on and share one more story about the state of Iowa. Back when I was in 4th grade, I had to do a science fair project, not science fair, it was a history project about different states of the Union. We all had to pick our own different states based off state colleges and stuff like that ended up in that year's March Madness. My 4th grade teacher was a rather interested fellow in that regard, and my dad and I did this project, and we grew a strange fixation with the state of Iowa just because their state fair apparently has something called a fried Snickers bar on a stick, which I think, hearing that in the production booth, may have just made our producer, Mr. Guido Marzucchi, explode. Yeah, I feel
Yes.
like take any other country and feed their citizens like a fried Snickers bar on a stick. That would basically be like getting a time machine, going back to the medieval period, and feeding like a medieval peasant a Red Bull.
Yep, I think that's exactly right. Yeah, that's there's some things that don't translate well in other countries. So we're back on board here with Miles Crab. It's like he's coming up on the back of Joaquin Effinger to put him a lap down, or maybe another lap down. It kind of looks like it's, yeah, maybe going 2 laps down. He's still continuing his lead out front, 5.4 seconds over Will Pierre, stretching that gap out just a little bit, as well as the gap between Pierre and Anderson is up to about 7 seconds now. So that gap is stretched as well. Squirek is still running, as she's running in P5, and she really hasn't made any headways into the gap up to the lead. About 26 and a half seconds behind. So maybe she's losing a little bit off to the leaders. And just checking in back on Josh Soto, just ran a 10th off the lead car, running in P11. He's 1 minute behind, and still pit stops on offer for the lead group.
And now officially in the final 20 minutes of this final 70-minute long race of this season. It's not the final week of this season. We still got the action from Group 3 in 1 week's time here on SMB. Got a lot of stuff to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And that Group 3 action in 1 week's time at Mid-Ohio is certainly going to be a part of that ever-growing list of actions to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But we're following Ian Anderson in the 147 car, finds himself in the final podium spot at the present moment. Haven't really talked about Ian thus far in this race, but he's just been quietly lurking in the background. That makes him sound like a criminal. He's not a criminal. He's just the driver running in third.
He is just a driver running in third, and he's having a great run. He's just a little bit off the pace to the lead pack, but he hasn't lost any time behind. He's made himself a gap back to Campbell of about 5 seconds or so. So he's having quite the good run. He's just a little bit off as far as overall pace. But you know, I'm sure if he gets out here with a podium, he'll be very happy with that.
I don't think he will mind that result one bit. Still a lot of stuff left to move and shake between now and the checkered flag. We have to worry about those pit stops for the rest of the drivers who have yet to come in. And as we are talking about the Andersons, here is Ian Anderson's wife, Carrie, who credit where credit's due, and a round of applause deserved to Carrie Anderson in the number 78 car, not only for a pretty good race at this point, currently running in 12th, but she was the person who got all the points taken care of heading into the final weeks of this season here for the Ray Esports Club Racing League. The other points had not really been updated, and outside of, I think, after week 1 for this series, we hadn't really had any sort of championship points to touch on. But entering the final week, we got it, and got to see how things have been shaken out all throughout the season. Lots of the drivers at the front can't be too surprised about. I mean, she's currently running down in 5th at the present moment. It's a pretty good recovery drive, and just pretty good season all around for Michelle Squirek in the number 75 car. And also, pretty good rebound for Lincoln Fox last time by, saying the fist left the race.
Yeah, absolutely. 214.67, sitting there behind Tyler Heron. Is going to get that run down into turn 5. He's going to make the move to the inside. Looks like it's going to be a fairly easy pass. Tyler's not giving him a lot of hassle, giving him plenty of racing room. Completes the pass going into the corner, and he's going to keep moving up a little bit. So still, once again, still have a few cars that have pit stops to make. So there's potential there for Fox to move up the order, and I'll second you on the shout out to Carrie for not only doing the work on the backside, helping out with the points and everything, but she's ran a pretty good season this season. She's always kind of consistently, you know, she's kept out of trouble and consistently gained more positions than lost after qualifying. As we see a car going, I think that maybe was that going off behind, was that Wayne Buttermore going off behind Soto there, as Soto works his way around, and he's now caught up to the back of Tom Went. See on board here with Buttermore coming down into turn 1. just a little bit off. I think he was kind of too far inside, couldn't quite get that corner made and off in the grass, but recovers it nicely and is back on the track.
Yeah, simple off-track excursion heading down into turn number 1. I gotta say, an easy off-track excursion to have as well. That's not the first time I've seen an iRacer do that. I've done that many a time myself. I think about $1 for every single time I Paul Tracy'd myself heading down into the runoff area there of turn number 1 here at Road America and flipped a couple of times. I would probably be able to repair some of the cars that I've crashed in my time on iRacing. Here's a nice little fun fact to show you all why it's a very good reason why I'm behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel. One time I crashed so hard in an AI F3 race that I was doing at Charlotte Motor Speedway on the oval that I actually crashed my simulator. Hit a piece of debris which broke one of my rear tires, spun me around, and it was side-to-side contact, and yeah, crashed my simulator in the process, hoping these two drivers don't crash side-by-side racing with Josh Soto and Tom Went heading down into Canada Corner. Looks like Soto going to get that move done to jump his way up into 10th. He's lost out on a little bit of time with that gap that was at one point between himself and Miles Crab. It was about 58 seconds. Now a tick over a minute and 1 second, but still within that window. Let's see how it's all going to shake out for Josh Soto in the 07 machine. Very fast driver, don't get us wrong, but him losing this race through pitch strategy, it would not be the first time that I have seen something like that, as we see a side-by-side fight. Maybe got flare up involving Randy Marino and Corey Heffron.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm kind of looking back, and yeah, it looks like some of the cars that pitted after our lap 1 incident is around a 55-ish second pit length time from cone to cone. So that's probably equates to, I don't know, 48 seconds or something like that of lost time on track. So Soto may not have enough time to make all that time back up. It's obviously Crab was going to have a much quicker stop than he did because they're not going to take on nearly as much fuel. So the times I'm looking at are cars that look like they just took enough to get to the end. I'm looking at Bromer and Justice. And so we'll see. Kind of looks like Soto's going to come up short, but he might still sneak on the podium. It's going to be close, though.
Yeah, it is going to be very close right to the end of this race, right to the end of this season. I will also raise definitely a sidecar from what was being discussed earlier on. Some rather nice-looking paint schemes on these cars all throughout this season. Some expertly crafted liveries, if we do say so ourselves. The one that's always been the most striking to me, I would say, is probably Corey Heffron. Yeah. And as much as a joke has occasionally popped into my head that striking livery looks like he may have struck a deer at certain points in time, it is a very nice looking car, rather abstract, to invoke a little bit of language from an art class, I would say. As Ryan Campbell, before we go off talking about art class or anything like that, because haven't been out, you think I man, you think my grades in math class were bad? Holy cow, art class, I think they gave me a G grade instead of an F, as these drivers have decided that now is the time to come into the pits. It has turned into a flood down pit lane.
Yep, it's starting to come in. We're hitting the sharp end here with about 13 minutes left to go. We see Aaron Bray and Josh Soto trying to work his way around to pick up P9, and they'll pick up 3 spots or so as they pass all the cars that are in the pits. Yeah, I do like Heffron's paint scheme for sure. As we see, who was that was in front of him? Was that Ryan Campbell that came out just in front of him? So he'll have a target to chase that's about 2.5 seconds ahead. And so Campbell will be trying to get those tires back up to temp and get that car back up to speed. Obviously, a little bit of adjustment to be made as you add a little more fuel to it. Weight distribution changes a bit. So sometimes it's a little tricky on that outlap to get the car turning the way it was before you came into the pits and added 100 pounds of fuel to it.
Yeah, talk about changing the handling characteristics. I'm trying to think of the best way I could describe it. It's basically coming into the pits and them dropping about 5 sandbags into your car. So that's, I mean, I'm trying to think of what car that would actually be a good modification for. Maybe in like the Dallara Iro 1.
Oh,
Actually, no, the Radical SR10. Put him in the front of the car. As Miles Crab has made the call to come into the pits now in the 131 machine. That is the call to pit that we've been expecting for quite some time. Will Pierre set to join him down in the pits. And as we see these drivers at the front of the field, which is now going to include your third place runner of Ian Anderson, we're going to be keeping tabs on those racers as they negotiate this pit stop. And also keeping tabs with Josh Soto in the 07 car, because he was your at one point race leader, came into the pits a tick under the halfway mark, and he is going to be a driver that we have to keep tabs on. A driver staying at, though, is going to be Michelle Squirick in the number 75 car. She had that spin earlier on coming out of the Canada corner section at turn 12, so she is not going to be in contention for this race win, but is looking to cap off this season with a championship. She won the championship in the MX5 Cup cars for Group 1, and it looks like she's going to do the same here in Group 2 with the GT4s. But as I kind of expected, if I'm being completely and brutally honest, Josh Soto, through that cycle of pit stops, I can't even say he's gotten the short end of the stick. He's gotten stabbed.
Yeah, you may be right. He's gonna move his way up to P6 here, but he's got a 30-second plus gap up to the lead group, or to our leader Michelle Squirick. Now that equates actually down to about 23 seconds to our race leader, who will take over Miles Crab when Squirick comes into pit, as she is the last one to pit for the race. And so he's got some work to do. He does have about 6 seconds or so up to Ian Anderson, who will take over for in P3 once Squirick comes in. So once again, Soto might not get the win, but the podium is still on the table for him. He's going to have to throw in some hot laps here toward the end of the race.
Yeah, you may as well burn up the tires, burn up the equipment. You won't have to worry about the next race of the season here for the GT4s. And keeping our fingers crossed that we'll be able to get you some information as to when the next Ray Esports Club Racing League season, or when the next Ray Esports Series period may end up being. Could be in the summer, could be in the fall. Only time will tell.
Yeah. Only time will tell. You're exactly right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's I don't have any inside information. You'll have more information than me. I just work here. I'm not in management, so so I'm sure that once it's over, Stevie will give us an indication of what we're going to do as Squirick comes into the pits, and then we'll get our broadcast schedule sorted out.
And gives you a good reason to stay tuned here onto Slow Motion Broadcasting. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't ever miss out on any of the racing action here on SMB. On the final push now to break 1,000 subscribers here on the Slow Motion Broadcasting YouTube channel. A couple of days ago, had the best day views-wise in the history of Slow Motion Broadcasting, thanks to some very good views on one of the latest shorts posted here onto this YouTube channel. If you want to check those out at the end of this broadcast, feel free to do that by just clicking on the SMB YouTube channel, navigating to the Shorts tab, and clicking whatever you fancy. But as it stands currently, continuing on with this race, Michelle Squirick has come down the pits. Aaron Bray in the 25 car has joined him, and also credit where credit's due to Aaron Bray. I don't think we've talked about him at all throughout this broadcast, but he, along with Carrie Anderson, who handles the points here in the Ray Esports Club Series. Aaron Bray is a person who now handles the points in the Weekend Warriors. So thank you to Aaron Bray and the number 25 car for getting all the mathematical permutations and all that stuff squared away. You can tell I'm breaking out the thesaurus for this broadcast as Ryan Campbell and Josh Soto going to give us a side-by-side fight to talk about. Heading down the marine sweep off into turn number 4. Soto holding on to the inside line. Looks like he'll be able to clear him, heading down through the braking zone into turn 5.
Yep, so that's P4 for Soto. Campbell drops down to P5. That's very quick to gain that 2 seconds. And so now he's got under 4 seconds up to Anderson for that final podium position. So we see Campbell just taking a little bit off there in 6. Josh way inside there in 7. But hangs on to the car as they work their way down into 8. And so he is on the hunt to try and get to that final podium position.
They certainly are. Again, to crunch time at the end of this race, and as you can see, that It looked like a gradient effect with the gravel into the grass there, getting spread around a little bit based off the off-track encounters that some of these drivers have faced coming through turn number 5. It's been a hectic one for these drivers. It kicked off in rather dramatic fashion after one of the most sickening impacts I've seen from the entirety of this season, pretty much my entire time doing iRacing broadcasting between Lincoln Fox and Jake Sneddon. I mentioned those shorts earlier on. I can promise you that will probably end up on a YouTube short for the simple sake that I think I may end up making that after this broadcast is said and done. But nevertheless, Joaquin Effinger has come into the pits in the number 700 car. Miles Krabs still leading this race at the moment, 4.2 seconds in front of Will Pierre, and I will refrain from making any further comments. A, I don't want to jinx him, and B, Will Pierre last time by was about 6/10 quicker than Miles Krabs.
Yeah, he absolutely was, and the gap is now 4 seconds. As we see Lincoln Fox working his way around, I believe that is Kent Estep in the 66 Porsche. Lincoln up to P18. I'll give another shout out to Aaron Bray. He's in 13th position after pit starting. That's a pretty good run up the field, running in 13th position, up 12 spots.
Yeah, that is a very nice hard charge from him, and that's always a good thing to keep track on, the hard charger. What driver cuts their way through the field like a hot knife through butter? I feel like I need to potentially come up with another one. What cuts through the field like a nice brand new chainsaw cutting its way through a twig?
Well, since we're at Road America and the Sargento sponsorship is pretty prevalent all over the track, maybe it's hot knife through cheese.
There we go. I like that. That'll be a good one. You get the nice little like bits of fried cheese at the end of it all. Yeah, you can tell that I didn't have a very satisfying dinner. It was a nice meal, but having to do that while you're on the air is not a very good thing. It's like, okay, let me do this quick little piece into the microphone, then rapidly mute my microphone, have a bit of my food, and then continue on as if it's no big deal. I would not recommend that. To any broadcasters out there, quick little lessons from the Columbia School of Broadcasting. Don't eat while you're on the air. Don't have someone else do your hair and makeup, and don't leave your mic on when you think it's off. There we go. That's
there you go.
The School of Broadcasting will teach you half of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the third one was probably the most important there. As we're back on board with Miles Krabs, gap down to 3.5, and so as the seconds tick away, probably 2 laps at the line, I would think. Yeah, I do not see the white flag, so yeah, it'll be 2 to go. 3.5 seconds from a potential win for Will Pierre, and that's all we'll say about it. We don't want to jinx anybody here. We'll also throw out that Josh Soto has now got that gap to Anderson down to about 2.2. So that surge to the front is continuing on.
Yeah, you can hear the Jaws theme as the driver of the 07 car rapidly catches up to Ian Anderson, as rapidly catching up is the name of the game also for Will Pierre. That gap now 3.2 seconds between Pierre and Krabs at the front of this field. Not a lot of time left to go. The real question is, when it comes to Will Pierre, he's got the pace. There's no question about that. The real question is, though, does he have the time to be able to even catch up Miles Krabs? I mean, this is said a lot on iRacing broadcasts. It's a dead horse who has dents in it from people whacking the stick over it on several occasions. But catching up is one thing, overtaking is a different thing. But will Pierre even have the chance and the time to catch up to Miles Krabs with about, I would say, a lap and a half time-wise left to go?
I mean, it just only takes one bad corner, and that 3 seconds is gone. So yeah, Krabs is probably just saying, how hard can I push this car without overdoing it? As we see this battle here between Murillo and Heffron. Marino taking the defensive line down the straightaway here, going their way down into turn 5. Heffron staying on the outside, and he's going to look to see if he can work it around the corner. Is he going to cross it over? And we see Soto crashed. Oh no. Here we go, coming through. Out of
I have 7 into turn 8.
Yeah, here we go. Here's turn 8. Off in the gravel. Oh, just too deep on the exit of that corner. And that is race done, as you see Soto removing himself from the track. That's probably an Alt F4 if I had my guess. and tough way to end that race. So he was having such a good run up through the field. White flag.
Yep, white flag in the air from Miles Crab, and he finds it with a 2.8-second gap to himself and Will Pierre. So as much as Pierre certainly having the head of steam to reel that gap in, don't think it's going to be enough at the end of all this. Knowing by luck, though, Miles Crab's going to get struck by a falling anvil, and we're going to see him disconnect from the session in about 3 minutes' time. That's a tough break, though, for Josh Soto.
Yeah.
Finds himself in 15th, rapidly dropping down the running order. But before that car even came to a stop, he already hit the trusty Alta 4 buns, which after what, like an hour and 6 minutes in this race, you found yourself in the lead, you did the strategy, you're rapidly encroaching upon the P3 finisher to try and grab a podium right towards the tail end of the season, and then you have a mistake coming out of turn number 8. It's, oh boy, that's a big moment coming out of the final corner. That's a 16 car of Randy Marino having a wild ride out of turn 14, going to lose out on a spot to Nolan Bromer. Actually, no, that's Corey Heffron. My apologies. Nolan Bromer a little bit farther up the road. Marino now trying to withstand the challenge from Josh Justice right behind him. Those two cars nearly side by side, heading off into turn number 1 right now. Not going to be enough there to allow Randy Marino to regain 8th or lose out on 9th to Joshua Justice, but that 3-car pack certainly going to be intense right towards the end of this race. We'll note that Miles Crab about halfway through this lap to try and bring home his 2nd win of this Ray Esports Club Racing League season. If he gets the job done, well, actually, if either of the drivers at the front get the job done, they will become the only repeat winners outside of Michelle Squire, who, as it stands currently, sets across the line in 5th. Is side-by-side racing flaring up between Corey Heffron and Randy Marino, heading down into turn number 5. Marino in the 16 car looks to get that move done into 5. Now looking for it into 6. That's aggressive and bold. Not going to work out at all for the driver of the number 16 machine. Going to find himself in 9th, heading through the 7th corner for the last time and drifting it off into the dirt in the process. But back up at the front of the field, Miles Crab is on that start-finish straightaway for the final time. It's going to be his 2nd win this season, but it's a long-awaited return to victory lane for Miles Crab, who in that 131 Aston Martin is going to weave across that start-finish line to take the final checkered flag here for group number 2. Will Pierre going to finish in 2nd. It was 2.2 seconds a gap between himself and Miles Crab. He reeled in that gap quite nicely, but just was not enough towards the end of this race and towards the end of this season. Ian Anderson going to round out your podium in 3rd. Ryan Campbell and the 23 machine is going to finish in 4th, but coming across the line in about 5 seconds time is going to be your Group 2 champion here from the Ray Esports Club Racing League. That is Michelle Squire in the 75 car.
Yeah, great run back up through the field for Michelle after that lap 1 spin she had. Stayed calm, stayed quick, and managed to get the top 5, claim the championship. We see Labano and then Bromer coming across the start-finish line. We see this 3-car battle, see who's going to end up in front. Looks like it's going to be Corey Heffron. And Josh Justice just nipping Randy Marino at the line, 900ths of a second gap to pick up P9 and Marino finishing in 10th. And then Edgar Sanchinelli coming in and the rest of the field following.
And as we continue to see these drivers cross the checkered flag, I'm going to wait a little bit to see if we have a side-by-side fight right to the line involving the number 6 car of Matthew Gazenda and Tom Wendt. I believe they're about to go on to the start-finish straightaway here in a couple of moments' time. Tom Wendt not going to get a good exit coming out of turn number 14, so I think those two going to finish line astern in 16th and 17th. Only a few more cars left across the line, not involved in any battles. That would be Tyler Harris finishing in 18th and Ken Estep finishing in 20th. And as we see these final cars cross the line, Tyler Heron right there in the number 11 Aston Martin, the only other Aston Martin in this field outside of Miles Crab, and Ken Estep, who had a really tough go of things in the number 66 car, rounding out your top 20 and your finishers at the end of this race. We're going to take a quick little commercial break here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, here from the wonderful people over at Sim Motion. We'll be right back to wrap up this season here for group number 2.
Through dip 50, slowing crest 40, 1 left. Caution to 2 right short.
Introducing the Sim Motion Rally Sequential Shifter. Our shifter is specifically designed for sim racing enthusiasts who want to enhance their experience in the rally world using a push-pull system. Compatible with wheelbases like the SimMagic Alpha Series, V&M Direct Drive, Fanatic, and SimiCube, and can easily be installed in minutes. It also has the adjustability to suit any wheel or driver's needs. It's also plug and play with titles like Dirt Rally, iRacing, and WRC. Available now at sim-motion.com. SimMotion has teamed up with iRacing and V&M Simulation with an extreme prize package for Season 4. To win, paint any car with a SimMotion logo, race in 10 official iRacing events, and you are entered to win an extreme direct drive and GT wheel bundle. But that's not all. Compete in the Formula 1600 Fixed Series, win your division, and you could score this set of pedals. Gear up and get racing. The rewards are waiting. With years of experience and a passion for customer service, SimMotion is a trusted name for SimMagic products. Whether you're just getting started or a seasoned pro, we have the gear to get you on the podium. At SimMotion, we don't just sell gear, we fuel your passion for sim racing.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to NBC. This is the Tomorrow Show, and my name is Tom Snyder. Alrighty, folks, welcome back here to the Right Esports Club Racing League. We just wrapped up the action here for group number 2. Credit to our race winner at the end of this final race of the season, Miles Crab. We're going to get these results loaded up here in a couple of moments' time and move off into some interviews because we got some drivers looking to have a chat with us at the end of all of this and hopefully not steal our lunch money. Miles Crab going to be your winner in the final race of the season here at Road America. Will Pierre going to finish in second. Ian Anderson going to ride at your podium in third. We're going to have a chat with all three of those drivers in a couple of moments. Ryan Campbell finishes in fourth. Michelle Squirick is your champion here for group number 2. She finishes in fifth, which may not be her best result from the season, but with 3 wins and a slew of other good finishes, she is your champion here for group number 2. Chuck Labano going to finish in 6th. Nolan Bromer in 7th. Corey Heffron will finish in 8th. Josh Justice in 9th. Randy Marino going to round out your top 10. Then we have Edgar Sancinelli in P11, Aaron Bray in 12th, Mike Nickham finishes in lucky number P13, Matt Thompson in 14th, Kerry Anderson in 15th, Matt Guzenda finishes in 16th, Tom Went in 17th, Tyler Heron in P18, Wayne Baltimore and Ken Estep round at the cars that actually took the checkered flag out there on the road. Joshua Soto, Lincoln Fox, Joaquin Effinger, Mike Key, and Jake Sneddon all ran into some extracurricular difficulties throughout that 70-minute long race, with Sneddon getting a piece of a big amount of drama at the very drop of the green flag. But those are your results at the end of this season. And Charles, we got some drivers waiting up there in the interview waiting area, and I think I'll pass it off to you so we can start off with our P3 finisher of Ian Anderson.
Yeah, let's bring Ian in here and have a chat with him. Ian, congratulations on the P3. Not quite the pace to get up there and challenge for the lead, but overall, very good drive out of you and grabbing the final step of the podium.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting race. I thought I had something for Will there for the first half of the race, but I had to conserve my my incident points because I started getting a lot of them real fast. So I had to make sure I was going to keep the car on track and make sure I didn't DQ. So I settled down a little bit into like some mid 215s, and that was it. It was enough to hold them behind me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the first lap very quickly. I know you were up there near the front of the field when that incident happened, coming through the kink. So how long did it take for your heart rate to come back down after that?
I just did the old Kimi Räikkönen thing and just stay flat and just go through the smoke.
Hey, sometimes that's the best way to do it. I mean, it's a pretty severe contact with Snedden and Fox into the wall, and it was quite crazy. So overall, a pretty good season from you. I been doing the broadcast for a few months now, and it's you're always up in the top 5, looking for podiums and race wins. So overall, how did you feel your season went?
It went pretty good, a lot better than I was expecting with a lot of these names that I'm seeing. So I'm happy to be, I think I was 3rd in points. I'm not sure about that, but somewhere in there. Happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Consistency pays off, right?
Mm.
All right, well, Ian, congratulations, and we'll see you. I'm assuming we'll see you for the final race next week.
I won't be in the Formula cars.
Oh,
so
okay.
This will be my last race for Rays for this season.
All right. Well, then we'll be looking forward to seeing you when the new season starts up.
Oh yeah, I'll be around.
All right. Ian Anderson, P3 tonight. Congratulations.
Yep, thank you.
And there he was, Ian Anderson, your P3 finisher at the end of this race. And I just realized that I started off on a slightly iffy foot here, because I was, full transparency, folks, having a chat with someone else here at SMB, so Ian had to wait there quietly for a little bit as we dragged him out of the commentary booth, and we now drag in our P2 finisher at the end of this race, Will Pierre. Will, welcome into the booth. It was a hard-fought challenge for you towards the end of the race, but it just was not enough to reel in miles, but still valiant effort at the end of this race. Talk us through it.
I did not get enough practice on Road America. I drove the scan for the first time last night, again at like midnight, as I do. I've been working on my real life cars too much and have not had time. So I didn't qualify very well and kind of had to figure it out mid-race. It took about like lap 10 to really get into a rhythm, and by that point Miles was already so far ahead. I was similar on pace, but I couldn't quite catch him. Towards the end there, he ended up pitting and tried to maximize his fuel advantage, and that's why I was catching him towards the end, because he had to fuel save for the last part of that race.
It was still a nice challenge for him towards the end. I'm sure you kept him shaking in his boots a little bit. But at the end of the day for this season, it was a very valiant effort for you. P2 in this race, I believe P2 in the championship. Michelle Skwarek, with those 3 wins, she was incredibly fast all throughout this season. But as you were as well, I want to ask you about your final thoughts here from the season of Group 2 action.
I really enjoyed the series. The pit stop adds a lot of strategy to it. It's just enough to make the racing fun. The full fuel load also makes it kind of interesting because the cars drive way different at the start of the stint versus the end of the stint. And I had a lot of fun with the competition, and I've learned a lot from this series. I've gotten a lot faster just throughout the progression of the series. I think, like the first race at Sebring, I struggled to barely break the top 10, and then I started really putting time in, and it paid off, and now I'm up here in P2, and it worked out.
He also grabbed a win a couple of weeks ago, I believe, at Barber as well from this season. So walking away from this season with some silverware at the end of all of that. I don't believe you've competed in Group 3 throughout the season with the Formula V and the Spec Racer Ford. So I would assume this is your final race here from the Ray Esports Club Racing League?
Correct. This is my final race until a new series starts up. I just didn't quite have the time or energy to commit to 3 full series. 2 was already a lot.
That's certainly understandable. I will say I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we'll be able to see you somewhere else here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, because just from this season, I've been able to see you as a very strong competitor and also a great guy to have a chat with at the end of these races, too. So, Will Pierre, we will let you go and celebrate this podium to bring this season to a close after one more question, as we usually do. Anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out before we let you go?
I want to give a thanks to all the people at SimMotion, my friends in Spokane for inviting me into this and helping me get into sim racing the past few years. It's improved my real life driving a lot, and it's just a lot of fun.
I gotta say, from my perspective as a broadcaster, despite being behind a microphone instead of behind the wheel, this series is absolutely fantastic. And hopefully in the future we'll see you back here, Will. But congratulations on the P2. Congratulations on the P2 and the championship as well. And excited to see you back out on the racetrack, wherever it is in the not too far off future, man. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations.
Thank you. Have a good night.
And that right there was Will Pierre, your P2 finisher in this race and in the championship. Charles, speaking of two, it's a second win for Miles Crab, who we'll drag in here in a couple of moments.
Absolutely. Let's bring Miles in, and we'll have a chat with our race winner tonight, Miles. A long time ago in a track far, far away, you started off the GT4s with a win at Sebring. And since then, it's been just a slew of P2s in every car imaginable. But tonight, you hold off the charge from Pierre and Soto, and you get the race victory. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I finally broke the streak. The Bucky's car is victorious in Fleet Farm land. Yeah, no, that was I was convinced I had absolutely nothing for Josh, and then I think we've determined he was on sprint fuel, so I feel a whole lot better that his car was 60 pounds lighter than mine. That explains a lot.
Yep.
And then I thought, it was going to happen again, and somebody was going to appear out of nowhere, so I took half a lap of fuel out of the car in the pit stop to have as quick a pit stop as possible. Thinking, well, if somebody comes in front of me, I'm going to have to draft them to the finish line and just pass them. And son of a gun, I came out with a 5-second lead and was like, I need to save fuel. So ran some fuel save laps, actually did some pretty okay lap times lifting going into Canada Corner. But yeah, that was Days of Thunder moment on the start. Me and Will had a great little side-by-side run through 1 and 2. We kind of couldn't decide who wanted to be in 6th place, and then went through the kink and cars started going everywhere, and I just aimed for the cars that were spinning, and it's like, please move, and they did. And yeah, got lucky, but also I'm quite happy. It's basically me, Will, and Josh Soto at 14, and then also Lincoln Fox, and we were able to pull away from everybody and kind of manage everything. But yeah, this is a pretty good car and track combo. As the fuel burns off, you have to manage it getting tight, then loose, then tight again as you kill off the front tires. And I was changing brake bias and having to actually drive the car.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just watching the replay of that turn 1 incident in the kink, and then we had Michelle spinning coming out of Canada Corner, and that set it off the battle between you and Soto and Will, and then smart strategy on your part, a little bit less fuel, and that gave you the gap that you needed. So congratulations, and finally getting that next race victory. And I'm assuming we'll see you next week for our final round of the season in the Formula cars. I'm assuming that's correct.
I should be here. I don't think I have any conflicts next Wednesday. And I'm not going to give up the chance to drive to the cars that I actually like to drive.
There you go.
Before the end of the season. And it needs to be said that it's a whole lot of fun to race with all the people. We don't have any dive bombers or people who crash often. We can run a whole race in a freight train, and usually it's pretty clean.
Mm-hmm.
So racing with these guys are great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys and girls.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the reasons I enjoy doing the broadcast, because it's a very close group, and everybody that's out there on the track is behaving the way an actual racer does. Is you're not out there trying to destroy your car and other cars. You're out there trying to race and keep your car clean, and trying to maximize your lap time every time around the track. So that's one of the reasons I enjoy doing the broadcasts. So Miles, we'll let you finish off with any thanks or shout outs that you want to give, and we'll let you go enjoy your long lost victory for tonight.
Thanks. Yeah, hi Mom, hi Jessica. I'm not mad at you for trying to hand me a puppy as qualifying started. And thank you, Stevie, for putting up with us, and thank you all for broadcasting. And it is Sim Motion, not Slow. Sim Motion sponsors us, and Slow Motion is y'all.
That's it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
yeah, that's
good.
right.
I finally got that right.
I made that mistake too.
I've got one more question. What breed of puppy was it?
All of the above. It's a lab mix. We're fostering it, and we finally found it a home. So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Miles. Thank you very much. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
I'll be there.
All right.
And that right there was Miles Crab, your winner at the end of this race. And I was going to have a chat with Michelle Squirick, but I believe she's left the interview waiting area. So we will briefly filibuster here for a couple of moments and have a chat talking about this race here at Road America. It was absolutely fantastic, had that nice strategy content that kept us intrigued all throughout. And I mean, outside of that chaos that we had at the very start and a couple of sprinklings of it throughout, it was just a rather clean and smooth affair with some good, close, and clean racing throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was, we talked about it, the attrition rate being a little higher than what we expected, but the action on track was amazing. And yeah, you're going to get those random wild card spins, especially at the kink at the beginning of the race. But other than that, great battles on track, some strategy plays out, and which is what we always kind of look for. And then you had a race to the line, and from a couple of cars trying to battle into that top 10. So yeah, great race all the way around. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and once again, it's kind of what I told Miles is one of the reasons I enjoy doing this is because you're going to get some top-notch racing in these groups. And it's going to be won't always be the battle to the line, especially in the GT4 class, but still great racing all the way around.
And to have this top-notch racing action all throughout this season, we have had a top-notch sponsor, because tonight's broadcast of the Ray Esports Club Racing League on Slow Motion Broadcasting is brought to you by SimMotion. SimMotion is a store by sim racers for sim racers, carrying everything from bun boxes to steering wheels and the best brands from the sim racing world, including SimMagic, Moza, Husingveld, and many, many more. With decades of experience in the industry, SimMotion is a great choice for sim racers in both North America and Europe looking to upgrade their simulators. If you'd like to check out what SimMotion has to offer, go to us.sim-motion.com. That is us.sim-motion.com. SimMotion is not only the sponsor of the official Formula 1600 series here on the iRacing platform, but is a proud partner of the Ray Esports Club Racing League. And as this series is still going on, feel free to use discount code RAY5 at checkout for some very sweet discounts. But we only have one more broadcast of this series left to go. This season that started all the way back in late October is being brought to a conclusion in 1 week's time. The finale for Group 3, that action with the Formula Vs and the Spec Racer Fords that you'll be able to catch here exclusively on Slow Motion Broadcasting from the virtual version of Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And you can also stay tuned here to SMB to catch all of the racing action. And even stay tuned tonight, as currently going on is the broadcast of round number 3 for the Sim Racers Group Intermediate F4 Championship. They're running at Fuji at the present moment. They just got the race underway a few minutes ago, and hopefully you can all tune into that broadcast after this one is wrapped up in a few moments' time. And if you're in the mood for some quick little bites of racing action and funny moments here on SMB, happy to take a look at our Slow Motion Broadcasting shorts. We got 4 up there, some being from other Ray Esports events, the Weekend Warriors Formula V Series spring to mind, and some other action that he can catch here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But as for this broadcast, for the second to last time here from the Ray Esports Club Racing League, I think that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi doing a wonderful job working on the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you also very much for watching this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.
Meow.